Hello, my friends out there in YouTube land. And sometimes the street's the place to we better hurry up.
Surprise, surprise. Yes, 2 in one day. And the reason for this video is Timido66 did a video back April 6th on the 70s. And I was born 1970, so I was young for most of the 70s. Well, actually, I was young for all of the 70s, to get perfectly honest with you. But I loved the question she has. She has 7 questions. And the first one is, what's your favorite 70s TV theme song? Well, I will admit that this one has got to be my favorite. Now, for those of you who don't know what that actually is, that's the theme to Chips, which I loved, which was also in the 80s, but it came out in 77. But I would say that that's one of my favorite theme songs. Okay, question 2. Which 70s TV shows did you watch every week? Well, I said, you know, I was young. So the Brady Bunch would have been one. Watched Chico and the Man. Watched, gosh. I'm looking through a list here. I mean, there's so many good shows that were back then. All in the Family, loved. Maude, I really didn't get into. Now, I actually like Maude, but back then, I really didn't. You had, let's see, another one that I remember watching. I mean, besides, you know, some of the Bugaloos and HR Puff and stuff, but, you know, as I said, I was young. Wonder Woman, the original, that one came out in the 70s. Sanford and Son, I remember watching a lot of that. Saturday Night Live, watched a lot of that. Starsky and Hutch, I remember that one. There are so many. So many that came out. But, you know, I was in that transition from the late 70s, because, you know, the early 70s, I don't remember none of it. But the late 70s and early 80s, that kind of, it's hard to remember which one came out which. So I'll have to stick with those. Did you ever sleep in a waterbed? Yes, I did. I've actually slept in a waterbed many times. Owned quite a few of them. My first waterbed that I ever owned was actually kind of funny story with that one. My mother for Christmas wrapped up waterbed sheets and gave them to us. And I opened up the package and I'm looking at these waterbed sheets and I'm like, thanks, Mom. And the whole time in my head I'm thinking, waterbed sheets? I don't even own a waterbed. And she goes, aren't you happy? And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm happy. And she noticed that I wasn't, I guess, as happy as she thought I should have been. So she said, well, you know that goes to your new waterbed. I said, oh, I got a new waterbed? She said, well, there was a note on it. And I guess when I ripped off the paper, I ripped off the note too. Okay, next question. Question 4. Fonzie or Luke Skywalker? I liked Fonzie. Absolutely loved Fonzie. But that was another show that we watched quite regular. Happy Days. Okay, which was better, the originals 70s Travolta or the comeback 90s Travolta? For me, I would have to go with Vinnie Barbarino. I liked Vinnie. What was your first record album? This is question 6. Well, my very first album, and as I keep saying, remember, I was young, was this one. The Muppet Show! And yes, I have the Muppet Show album. Yes. Which is not the original one. I actually re-got that one because I have such fond memories of it. Moving right along. And last question, question 7. How did you celebrate the U.S. bicentennial? Back in 76, the first part of it, I'd have been 5. And the last end of it, I would have been 6. So, I don't completely remember. I do remember some things about the 70s. I remember Carter. I remember the gas lines and the gas wars, and Odd and Even Day, and waiting in line, sweating in the car, in the back of the car, while Mom and Dad are waiting in line to get to the gas station to actually put gas in the car, and hoping the whole time that we're waiting that somebody doesn't bring out that no fuel sign. Yeah, and then you were only allowed to get up to like $5 in fuel. It was a horrible time for most, but for some reason, I actually, I kind of liked that memory. I don't know, call me weird. Didn't care much for Carter, but, you know. And I was young and I didn't like him. And that wasn't from my parents. That was just because I knew. But, anyway. So anyway, that's the 70s for me. So I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
The gentleman
Hey, those are mine.
Well, hello, my friends out there, YouTube land. And sometimes